with our crazy wild journey, something switched in us to be like, if we're not going to be intentional, what is the point of any of it?
You have no idea the pain that we've gone through. Like, glory to God alone that we are where we are now. Like, his grace through our marriage has been incredible and such a testimony.
Because then in the tough times, it's easier. Why? Because like we're together. Because obviously you grow into business sometimes, like you have the ups and downs and all that kind of stuff of finances and all that. But if you're in it together, then
the pressure's not all on one person.
Exactly.
To figure it out. You're a team and you're working together.
Yeah, it's so much better. Welcome back to the Legacy Shift, where we truly believe that you can be successful in business, marriage, and family. We are here.
We're here.
Episode 1.
Episode 1.
Hey.
Wow.
The wait is officially over.
It's been a long time coming.
It has been a long time.
He's been working very hard.
I have been trying so hard to get this one into this chair, and here we are in these nice little white chairs. So I had this thought and this question. I'm sure we're going to be asked this, but why Legacy Shift?
Why?
Kicking it to you. I'm asking you.
Kicking it to me already. Why Legacy Shift? So we sort of came to this realization. I think it's been over the past, probably a couple of years actually, of navigating different family situations and different things that have come up in our own marriage that kind of stem back to childhood and then business things, like just kind of all of this that's pointing us towards how important legacy is and building things, raising your kids, training up your family, and formulating your life in a way that you're leaving a legacy in an intentional way, and that it's a good legacy. Like, to differentiate, there are two different kinds of legacy. Like, you could be leaving a legacy that is not good, that you do not want. And that's sort of what happens when you're not intentional, is things drift, things aren't. And not that anyone's, like, goal is ever set out and, like, ruin my family or, like, leave this just...
Ruin you for the rest of your life.
All these ruins behind me on my way out of the world. But, like, that's what happens when we're not intentional, when we just kind of drift and don't pay attention. We're complacent about stuff. And so the intentionality that it takes to build a marriage that's thriving, not just bumping along and surviving.
Yeah.
Raising kids that are going to be able to contribute in a positive way to society and live out God's plan for their life. To build a business in a way that it affects not just our family and our own income, but to leave a mark in the world and to set up our kids potentially. You know, like we've had all kinds of conversations like that lately. So
yeah,
this is sort of the culmination of that.
Yeah, and honestly, like this is kind of how we talk to each other. We talk long term. We talk not, and now it didn't always used to be like that at all. But since we've been intentional over the last, 5 years or so of just like every day being intentional, I can get home from work or wherever we're doing, and we'll just sit for like an hour or so and just talk. And we just talk like this. And so that's kind of one of the things that we want to bring everybody into, like kind of our living room and just kind of our thought process of just being truly intentional with how you live your life. Because if you are intentional, like you're only gonna get better. Yeah. If you just kind of are flying by the seat of your pants trying to figure it out, then it's gonna be a struggle and it's gonna be frustrating, and you're just gonna kind of, like you said, bump along through life, trying to figure it out and hoping something sticks down the road. But if you can be intentional, then it's a game changer. And I think for us, how it started being intentional was working on us. Mm-hmm. And the moment we worked on us, because we had a lot of issues, so many issues. And it started with this literally filing a marriage conference. We're out here in Oregon. Or is it Oregon?
Oregon.
Or Oregon.
Oregon.
People say Oregon. Portland, Oregon. And there was nothing around here. Yeah. Nothing from even California, Washington, nothing even close. So you found one in Texas. So I said, well, I mean, it's Texas. So that's always going to be fun. And so we went to this marriage conference and completely blown away. I mean, it was 2 days, and there was multiple speakers per set per day, and just like one by one, each single speaker just blew us out of the water of like how like what the things that they were saying. And for me, I was raised in church. I was like, you could say born in church, like from a baby on. Like, so like I had background knowledge, and I mean, my relationship with the church and God and all that probably wasn't the best by any means, but I still was retaining things and know, you hear messages that you remember and all that kind of stuff. So the fact that like I never heard any of this stuff about marriage was like absolutely mind blowing. And then just to like, well, how do you even put this into practice? Like, how do you even do this stuff? And it literally just started with like us talking to each other, us kind of diving in and just like having those deep conversations, like childhood stuff or different things that affected us as into adulthood, or just different things that were uncomfortable, and then having uncomfortable conversation, but it led to such more intimacy, just not sexual or anything like that, I mean, obviously that too, but like but just a more intimate level of like conversation.
Yeah.
And then a more intimate level of like just how like we love each other.
Yeah. And it changed everything. Well, because like, I don't know, you have to rewind a smidge more.
Oh.
Like, I wasn't a believer when we met. He was away from the church. You just heard his story. And we met at a bar in the middle of the night
Nightclub.
in Eugene. I went to college down there at U of O and just stuck around after college with no vision for my life. Just kind of got caught up in the party scene, drinking scene with my friends, and that was my day to day. That's what I worked for, was money to spend at the bars on the weekend, and not even weekend, but like all week long. So I was in a desperate, kind of hopeless place, looking for answers. We met, fell in love very quickly. This man, my goodness. And then through that journey, actually. How deep are we getting into our story right now?
I don't know.
Into it. Okay.
Just going for
So
it.
we got engaged after 2 months, actually, because like
Was
I
it
said,
2?
we fell hard. It was 2 months. Planning a wedding, and then surprise, I was pregnant. Which surprise!
Was not-
While we were planning a wedding, wedding's off. But now there's this baby coming, and I just remember I was 1 week away from having this baby, and I had so much fear inside. My soul was like being tormented by just, I don't know, like what was my life? Like I grew up a very good girl, very moral, very followed the rules, good grades, all the teachers' pet, all that. And so all of a sudden it was like I was living this lifestyle that that was not who I was. And so I was searching for identity, searching for purpose, searching for value. And now I'm pregnant. We both quit our jobs, which was dumb. That's a whole other story. Like, why would you walk away from health insurance when you're pregnant? But we did that. And so I just was like, I so desperately wanted to know that there was like a big safety net out there that would catch me and just tell me that everything was going to be okay. And I remember asking him like, hey, wait, we were driving one day, saw one of those billboards
Right,
that said
on
like,
I-5, yeah.
are you going to heaven? Or it was something like that. And it just kind of dawned on me, like, wait a second. He was raised in church. We don't know each other very well. It's been a few months. We loved each other, but like we didn't really know each other that well. And I was like, wait a second, you said you were raised in church, like parents were pastors at one point. Like, so do you believe in God? Like that, the big, like deep relationship question came up in the car. And so he starts telling me what he believes.
Which, by the way, if you are dating,
you shouldn't wait until that point.
you should not be waiting into that. It should be like a prerequisite of like questions that you need to ask. So don't live how we live, okay? Like this isn't the best way. We had to figure it out.
Yeah.
It was harder, so make it easier on yourself. Okay, go ahead, continue.
That's wisdom. That was very good. And so I started asking him questions about like, well, how can you believe? Then he asked me what I believe. And I'm like, well, how can you believe in God? Like, then I asked all the deep questions of like a very analytical brain of like, God can't be good if little kids die of cancer, or there's natural disasters that kill people. Like, I just was thinking all the hard-hitting questions that people even have now as adults, of just like, well, how can this be? How does this make sense if this is the case? And so I just remember his answer. He's like, you should talk to my dad. And so that next weekend, actually, we made a trip out to drive to Bend, which is 3 hours from where we lived. And so we went out there for the weekend and went and had a conversation with his dad. And I asked him all those hard questions. And I just made a decision. It wasn't like some supernatural God encounter moment. I had been searching for answers, and searching for safety and comfort and love ultimately and identity. And I just made it like a mental decision. Like, I'm going to choose to believe this. And I remember he got up off the couch on the other side of the room and he sat next to me and he prayed with me to give my life to Jesus. And I just remember leaving after that, like, I didn't feel any different right away, but it was like over the next several months, God just showed up in so many ways that were like tangible. Like, even that next day at church, because we were there for the weekend, so we went to their church, and their pastor, the message, he's preaching all these scriptures and all this stuff, and it was literally every question I had brought up in the living room. He's wild. Calling it out as he's preaching, and his dad at one point, he's just like elbowing me so hard, like, did you hear? And I'm like, did you talk to him about what we talked about? Like, it was as though he was sitting in the living room with us.
Yeah, that was
and
so
so
wild.
Like that kind of moment, like it was just only God.
Yeah.
And so it was really cool. Like, he just proved himself faithful from that point forward. And Ben came back to Jesus in that too, because he's like, what I know from my childhood was like, I can't be half in, half out. Like, if we're gonna live like this, then I'm all in. And that was the first step of him leading our family in that. So we went and found our church, which is here in Hillsboro now, and it just changed everything once we got committed. And so that was that was the first step of making things right, because we had built our marriage on physical attraction, on lifestyle maybe. Like, our marriage was built on so not the right foundation that it was like that was the first step of making things right. And so our journey's been so painful, so heartbreaking, so hard, so much work in that. Because I know sometimes people are like, well, you guys did it. Like, look what God did in you. Because
we've been told
you
that.
picked someone who wasn't saved.
People have said that to us.
Yeah. And it's like, you have no idea the pain that we've gone through, and pray, like, glory to God alone.
Yes.
That we are where we are now because we were willing to do the work, and like his grace through our marriage has been incredible and such a testimony, which we're so grateful for. And that's why
I tell people, don't copy our story, bro. Like,
it's
don't.
not a justification for
that's not. Yeah, it's not a justification. You can just pick whoever and God will fix it. Like,
don't do that.
It was a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
And just
So then fast forward to this marriage conference, is like we had a lot of baggage to unpack between, like, we had a lot of things to fess up about. We had a lot of things to talk about from our childhood of why we were the way that we were, and relationship issues from the past, and all kinds of crazy stuff. So that was the beginning of, like, it wasn't even just like, you're in construction. So if you're like remodeling a house and you got to putty the cracks and like kind of touch up stuff.
You learned some things. It's good.
This was like full demolition, like down to the
Demo
foundation.
day.
Like, it's not just slap some paint and like hang a new lamp. Like, that was not our relationship. We needed to be absolutely just crushed to nothing and then like rebuild from the bottom.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes us so strong today, is because we're so like foundationally strong in the Word, in our own relationships with God individually,
and with each other too. Yeah. Because now. So before in that time period, we couldn't really talk about anything because it was just like a trigger, or I'd flare up, or what, you'd shut down, or whatever.
Well, we're selfish,
right? And then, but now, like, we can mention something that, hey, that kind of bugs me, or hey, what's up with that, or whatever the situation is. Yeah, and it's like, well, that wasn't my intention, or that wasn't my tone. Sorry, my tone was that way, or whatever, and we move on. And it's great, and we don't hold on to it. We're not holding on to this thing where we used to before, and now we solve it, we get it figured out, and then we just keep moving forward. And then I feel like in doing that, it like strengthens us even more. So ready for like that next battle, Yeah.
And I think like then stewardship over our story of, like, so speaking to legacy, that it's not just the example we're leaving to our kids, which we'll get there in a second. But like now we have the honor of helping to plan a marriage conference at our church. And it's just like the best thing that we do all year.
Right.
And it's so cool to get to share our story, like one-on-one with different people, and to be able to serve in that way in our community, and to create an atmosphere where couples can come together and learn some of the things that we've learned. is so beautiful. And so I think it's part of just stewardship over what we've gone through, like leaving legacy, that our marriage isn't just for us. It's not just for our home, but it's for the impact that we're having in the community, that our marriage is actually going to bring hope to people. Through our story, we're actually going to be able to bring people closer to God, keep them in their marriage, encourage them to stay, encourage them to work through their troubles. And that's just a cool, like a beautiful way of our marriage affecting legacy bigger than just us.
Yeah, it's great. And just who we are affecting around us with legacy, and just being super intentional with how we're, I don't know, how we're acting, how we're even in public when we're at church, or we're at a restaurant, or just in the store. We're just trying to be just hyper aware and super intentional of like how we talk to each other, how we love each other in public, in front of our kids, hugging, and we kiss, and they, oh my gosh, that's so gross. So I already know our youngest says that, like, that's so gross. I was like, well, why are you watching, bro? Yeah. But the security that seeing, mom and dad like loving each other, hugging, kissing, doing all that, coming home, kissing you, leaving, kissing you, all that, just being hyper aware that like they're watching us, so
and then for that legacy of the kids, then moving on to that,
right,
of we tend to repeat what we've seen lived out. And so how is our marriage affecting how our kids are going to grow up, and the relationships they're going to be drawn to, the types of people they're going to be drawn to, the attention they're looking for if they're not getting validation from us at home, and those kinds of
I mean, how many times do you hear that so often with like girls, right? Because of their dad, because us guys try to be all like macho and tough and distant, and this thing we think is like, we think it's cool, or we think it's like this is how we're supposed to be. Maybe it's not even like an intentional thing. Maybe it's just something that you saw from your dad or your grandpa, and it just kind of got like legacy getting passed down the wrong way. Versus you being hyper aware, hyper intentional about, I don't want to be like that. We need to be hyper aware of some of those tendencies that we sometimes get into. And I think if we were more just aware and kind of like brought it to light, it would behoove us. Who does that sound like? It would behoove us. And
it would behoove us.
It would. And we would see a relationship with our kids just kind of blossom. And, you currently homeschool our kids. You were intentional about...
Which was never the plan.
Never the plan.
You asked me that.
Right.
Before children.
Things got crazy in the world, so you're like, I don't really want...
It was actually, God had started kind of nudging me about it right before COVID, which is kind of funny, because then everything went on Zoom. In her class, Cameron was in first grade at the time. First grade. And I just remember thinking, like, I could do this so much better. I loved her teacher. I'm going to be very clear. I loved her teacher. We loved her school. But at the Zoom times with, like, her schedule, little ones at that age, they're still so young. Like, when she'd start to get kind of drowsy for the day, or, like, want a nap, or when she's feeling super active, and it's, like, that's the time that I need to plug her into the computer and do a Zoom call with her class, like, even schedule-wise, it wasn't working. And I just remember thinking, this could go, like, I think I could do this at home. And it took a long time, but then that was what was made very clear, was during COVID. Like, no, we're homeschooling. Like, we'll finish out this year, and then we're going to do our own thing. Yeah.
So now with our kids, too, we want to do life with them. We want to bring them along with us. My construction business we have 2 locations, and try to bring them as much as we can to the office at least.
3 hours away.
I know that like our youngest likes to come with me on estimates and do all that kind of stuff too. And so, which is cool. Like, man, like, if you want to learn this now, like, I want to build a business that they can take over, or they can sell it, like whatever they want to do. Like, I'm just super aware of the decisions that we're making now, because I want them to either have something that they can run off and just take it to the next level, take it to something that I couldn't never. I mean, I have some pretty big dreams and aspirations, so like even bigger than that. Yeah. Like that's amazing. So I need to make sure that I'm intentional and not creating a bunch of debt. I'm not doing all this things that like will affect them when they try to take over and run it. I want it a smooth transition to where like they just grab this foundation is perfect and then boom, they go to the next level. Or they said we don't want to do any of that, but they can turn around and sell it for millions, and it's actually worth.
It would be sellable.
Has something of value to sell. So that's
not just
me.
notebooks.
That goes back on me making sure that I'm doing my part and leaving a legacy for them.
Yeah.
And I think that's and then I know like I feel like our daughter probably will be the one that takes over the business.
This one? I mean,
Yeah, just in general. Yeah, I feel like
she's very business minded.
she's very business minded and very like just leader. And I know she'll probably do her own business too, but
She does want her first job to be at a frozen yogurt shop.
and she does want to own a bakery too. So, which is cool because
Grow
even
with
like
it,
that,
yeah.
because even being in homeschool, you taught her how to make a spreadsheet, how to what that cost of a scone is.
I think that's my favorite part of homeschooling is like
Yeah.
what's going on in our life and how can we make a lesson out of it
Yeah.
for school. And so even like even when it started with painting, when you were like hands-on painting, we'd be sitting down with the workbooks and he'd text me and like, because the dynamics of the day, he really needed paint, but it was the one that was on my side of town and he was so far away and
yeah.
like he's on a time crunch and all these things. So we'd say, can you do me a huge favor? Can you go to the paint store and pick up this paint and drive it over here? And I'm like, in traffic, and we just sat down with the workbook.
You going to Northeast Portland?
Yeah,
Wait,
I'm
what?
just like, I don't love driving over there. And, you know, all these reasons in my head, but kind of back to marriage and like supporting each other. And it's a family thing. And we're here for each other. That's not just his thing to figure out.
Right.
And he needs help right now. And he wouldn't be asking if he didn't.
Right.
And so like, okay, kids, this is where like we get
So
to go
before
serve.
too, because when we did it the wrong way, there wasn't that.
Yeah.
Because we've had a few different businesses, and the first time around, like
You were on your own.
I was on my own.
Yeah.
But now it's a different perspective. So
Yeah.
it's like it wasn't just me and her. You know, it was all, I feel like a family decision. Like it was all of us together being intentional. And then when we make it fun, then the kids then they want to be a part of it too.
Yeah. And it was cool because we go into the paint store and of course they know Ben because
Right.
he's there so much.
Spends
this
so
guy
much
named
money.
Jerry, how does he say his name?
Jerry.
He's from New York or something. And he'd give the kids, because they knew Ben, so when I go in to pick up the paint, and oh, you're Ben's family. And so he gave them these little like Miller paint hats that were so
Right.
cute. And they're wearing their hats, and we're driving like an hour and a half in traffic over to the house he's at to drop it off. And even then, I think Cameron was like, I don't know, 7 or 8. Like she was young. And I just remember like taking that moment to say like, this is how a wife serves her husband. And we actually had that conversation in the car in an
Yeah.
age appropriate way, of course, because she was young.
Right.
But I just remember like, I'm not going to resent him for like interrupting our day or adding something to my plate or anything like that. Like, how can I turn this into a lesson? And so that was like a marriage lesson,
Yeah.
even in that moment. But even like, they helped us build these chairs.
Right.
When we got them.
Yes,
So like
good.
they're helping with all the stuff we're doing for business and taking those opportunities to say that. Like when Lincoln, who's 8 right now, he sees like, here's the paint bid was 10 grand. And he's like, what? Dad made 10 grand? I'm like, no, honey. Dad did not make 10 grand. The job was 10
Be
grand.
nice.
But there's payroll, there's equipment, there's materials,
And
there's
taxes.
taxes.
What are
like-
taxes?
and we sat down and we drew a little pie chart, and all of a sudden he's like, Mom, why is Daddy's piece of the pie so small?
Right. No, that was
That's
great.
a great question.
And then like his mind process of like, wait, how can Dad make more money?
Yeah. So that's what I asked. I said, how can we
Yeah.
fix this? And he goes, well, if this piece was smaller, so that cut into payroll. And I'm
Hey,
like,
let's
oh
go.
boy. Okay, so we got to cut the fat here. Or he's like, why does he have to pay so much taxes? I'm like, well, we can't really touch that one, but.
Or
It was
he
just-
or
it
he
was a
or
cool
he
lesson.
should charge more, and it's like so just
Yeah.
getting his brain at 8 to start thinking business. I mean that's to me
cool.
that's like so valuable. Like because he can just keep building upon that. This dude's gonna be a multi-millionaire
Yeah.
CEO or whatever he wants to do, And like I want to give him like that access. I want to be the full reins just to do it, and just like yeah, let's roll, And, So, and I think that's just something that is super cool to be able to do with your kids and stuff too. So I think that kind of just all ties in with when we're in life together and how we're raising our kids, being intentional with our marriage, being intentional with business. It all kind of works together. And I think that's the biggest point of the legacy shift. Something off with our crazy wild journey, something switched in us to be like, no, if we're not going to be intentional, then we are. It's all going. What is the point of any of it?
Yeah.
And I think so. Just being that intentional, I think, has just gone a long way for us.
And it's been fun every day to think like how it's made homeschool more fun, I think, because it's like you have your workbooks. You are blessed to be able to do your curriculum however you want to that works for your family. And so it's just once I let myself have that freedom, because that's a transition. Homeschool is a whole other topic. But once I let myself have that freedom of like, what can I teach them today that's relevant to our life? And that's a really cool thing. So even like taking video, now that we're on this journey, like I had the kids, I said, I'm going to teach you video editing. And so I let them, I said, you're going to figure out what your topic is. But like,
well, and just the time that we're in, like 2025.
yeah, like you need to know how to use your phone and make content and build your personal brand and all the things. And so I gave them each a task of like, you're going to come up with your topic, what you're doing, but I'm going to teach you how to edit it on my phone. And so, and I said, do you want to star in it or do you want to film it? I'll let you pick that too. So Lincoln he wanted to film me baking. So I was baking scones and he's filming me and he's walking around with the camera and he kept telling me, Mom, stop, you're embarrassing. And he'd go, cut, and he'd stop the camera. And I'm like, oh, excuse me, I thought that was a really good take. So anyway, he's a very authoritative director, but that was funny. And then he took the iPad at one point, went in the garage and filmed himself like on the weight bench. I haven't even shown you that. He's on the weight bench like with the basketball and he's like doing this whole thing. So we haven't edited that yet, but yeah. And then Cameron did she wanted to be the star of making how she makes her favorite strawberry smoothie. So it was fun. More to come.
Yeah, that's fun.
It's been fun for homeschool to just get to branch out and every day looks different and it makes it fun and not just blah. And it's like life skills, they're going to need these things. We're benefiting from them. The ROI on teaching our daughter how to bake
that's great.
has been like hands down my favorite thing. I just let her loose in the kitchen on her own and she'll come bring me like fresh, hot chocolate chip cookies.
Muffins.
And they're actually really, really
strawberry
good.
muffins though?
They're actually so good.
Oh, no,
it's
raspberry.
Like, put in the work
muffins.
and
yeah.
It's
Be intentional about your growth.
That's right. Yes.
The biggest, I think, so with Legacy Shift and why Legacy Shift, I think we just see the value in being intentional, and then with the marriage conference that we help out, we see like just the words that are spoken from like the pulpit, or just being in like intentional with like who you sit with at the lunchtime and all that, and just like sharing. It really encourages people, and so that's kind of our thought process on this whole journey. I mean, just for her to even be in this seat next to me, like this was never the plan.
It was the result of a lot of prayer.
It's so much interceding and now here we are, and she's just got so much gold in there that we're going to be bringing out. And so but this is what I want. This is like kind of what I saw, like, is us doing this together, because it was always like, oh, well, you can do it, and then I'll kind of come on there for like a couple of things, whatever. And I'm like, no, like I see us doing in-person events where where marriage business owners come for like a 2-day business accelerator, and we help them in business, yes, but also in marriage. We encourage their marriage, and like, yes, it's tough. Yes, it could be, you might be on the brink, but like, you can do it. You can do it.
You don't have to sacrifice one for the other.
You can be successful in both. And if you can do it together and you're intentional about it, man, the sky is literally the limit.
And your kids still feel loved and seen.
There is nothing more than what the devil wants, is to divide the family. He works overtime at this. All over the world, he does this. Because he knows that a family that's united together in Christ is literally, you can do anything that God has for you. Yep. And that's, I think, the biggest thing is like, man, there's so many talented people out there, so many awesome families, that if they just grabbed hold of this, they were intentional. They started working together. They started bringing things to light, taking stuff out of darkness. Yeah. And it's going to be tough. It might hurt a little bit, but man, it's so worth it. Because then when you can get to the other side, you're strengthened. It's like you're playing a video game, right? And then you go into the next level, that next boss. It's like, okay, game on, here we go. I don't even play video games anymore.
I was wondering where that came from.
She doesn't even let me do
He's
that.
never let you. He's never had a video game thing since. Actually, the kids bought me a Switch years ago.
That's right.
And they play it more than I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally don't play it.
It's because of a date night that we went on, or a date day that we went on.
That arcade?
Yeah, in Texas.
Oh, I beat him at Mario Kart. I have photos to prove it.
But here's
right now he didn't.
No,
I have multiple.
I was not gonna say that. First of all,
okay.
if you let me finish, I bought her the Switch for Christmas. I think it was with the Mario Kart game because the moment that we had together.
Yeah.
Like, it was so fun
at that conference.
because she let herself loosened up and she was having fun. But because of the conference, because we got intimate in our conversation, and it breathed more, just more love with each other. So we had a great time, like going to this arcade and playing Mario Kart and all that. So well, that was such a great time. So I bought her a Switch, and it wasn't like, and she like, cool, thanks. And like, I think she played it like a couple times because it's like, it wasn't about Mario Kart.
Yeah.
It's not why she had the most amazing time. It was because of our intentionality of conversation, which, by the way, guys, that's what girls need. They need you to be intentional and actually talk to them and be vulnerable with them and listen to them and like respond after they've said stuff. Not fixing the problem. We're not trying to fix their problem sometimes. We're hearing them, and then we're responding with an actual thoughtful conversation back to them.
Look at this gold nugget right in episode 1. If you listen to the end, you just really got it.
I just unlocked something for you for date night, y'all. Like, guys, you can thank me later. Send me a DM or something saying how great your date night was. But but literally it just opens up so much. And I think it just makes life a lot better. When we're in love or doing life together, creating businesses, doing businesses, and then it all, because then in the tough times, it's easier. Why? Why? Because like, we're together. Yeah. So like, if we have, because obviously growing a business, sometimes like you have the ups and downs and all that kind of stuff of finances and all that. But if you're in it together, then
the pressure's not all on one person.
Exactly.
To figure it out. You're a team and you're working together.
Yeah, and it's so much better. And you can do it. You feel like, I can do this. I can get through this moment. Why? Because you have a person next to you that's there, ride or die, doing it with you too. So we want to just encourage you with that. We hope that encourages you. Subscribe to this channel. Like, subscribe so you can see more. We're going to get more in depth with business, family, marriage, and all the things, because there's so many ways that we can go. So this is why Legacy Shift. We truly believe that you can be successful in business, marriage, and family. See you next time.